I'm just gonna warn you guys right now, I am very sick. I'm going to try my best to read as many stories as I can. It's been a rough couple of weeks. I don't know what I did to deserve getting sick on top of everything else I've been through, but we keep on trucking. But I'm back and I have more of your Let's Not Meet stories. I picked out 4 stories. Again, I don't know if I'm gonna get through all of them. I'm gonna try my hardest though. This first story says, I had a stalker for over a decade. Let's start my story with me saying that I used to be pagan and attended a coven. Turns out it was just toxic energy and led to this psycho stalking me. His name is Roger. Yes, it's his real name. He used to be involved with my friend and they share a child together. I found out later after they broke up that he would stand outside her window and watch her while she slept. He even went as far as to break into her house and laid out all her underwear on the bed. We were at a Beltane ritual at a local park. This was the first time I met this creepy-ass man, but I didn't find out about the stalking until a few years later. I was desperately lonely and in an abusive relationship and posted an ad on Craigslist under personals. Yes, I know it opens up a huge can of crazy. He emailed me. My name was not in the listing, but he knew it was me. He told me where I worked and where I lived, how old my daughter was, and how I was in a toxic relationship. Yes, I know in a sense this was cheating. He also stated date by date what I wore to work or a store on certain days. He also stated that a psychic told him we were meant to be together. He even said he was abducted by aliens. I freaked out to say the least, left the job and changed everything, but he found me again. I am disabled and have to use an electric scooter. My brother and I were at Walmart with my niece and nephew. I turned into the next aisle and I came face to face with him. I grabbed my niece and nephew and yelled for my brother. He came running and chased Roger out of the store but lost him. I hadn't heard from him for a couple years after that. Then I found out he worked with my landlord. I was so afraid he was going to end up there. I locked my door all the time and kept my curtains closed. It was a terrible life to live in fear. I moved again. My brother started going to a local church. He showed up to this church that my whole family went to, showed up once and asked to get an impromptu baptism. He was never seen again at the church and I haven't heard from him since. Thank you for listening. So to the psycho man who stalked me for years, let's not meet again. The fact that he was able to find your ad on Craigslist and knew it was you and then just proceeded to stalk you for years and show up every time you moved. Wow. This next story says, to my ex who stalked me for 5 years, let's never meet again. Hi, I'll call myself Elizabeth since I don't want to risk him finding me, and I've been stalked by my ex for over 5 years. A little PSA, this is a trigger warning for coerced SA and DA. I won't be supplying details, let's call him M. This started when I was 16. I was in high school when I met M through some mutual friends. We grew close from being in close proximity almost daily and ended up getting into a relationship. M became extremely aggressive fast. Not directly at me to begin with, but instead throwing phones and punching walls. We were in a store one day with a bunch of friends, including my cousin, we'll call her D. D and myself were always close, so it was natural for us to walk together, talking, letting M do the same with his friends. All of a sudden, M whirls on us, yelling about us talking about him. Of course, we weren't. When we told him we weren't, he completely lost it and punched a shelf, causing the entire display to collapse, resulting in our entire group being kicked out. We of course left. Myself and D kept our distance from M as to not trigger him again. We were walking along the sidewalk when M decides to pretend to shove me into traffic from behind like a complete psycho. Yes, I'm now aware that this was an extreme red flag and that I should have left, but I was young and naive and in my first relationship ever. Fast forward around 6 months into the relationship. At this point, I was constantly anxious, constantly walking on eggshells around him, trying to avoid making him mad. This was also the first time he was yelling at me for God knows what, grabbing my face hard when I wouldn't look at him. And when I say hard, I meant digging his fingers so hard into my skin that my jaw hurt for days after. And he only got worse. I was never allowed to go out with friends or even my family. There was an incident where I was planning to go out with my mom and my brother. He was told as such. We were getting ready to leave when there was a knock at the door. It was M. He showed up anyways, knowing my mom wouldn't turn him away and knowing he could force himself into coming. I was extremely mad. I felt like I was being suffocated and not allowed to breathe without his permission. Around a year was my breaking point. I was extremely sick, like barely conscious type sick. I couldn't talk or even move. He came over and was laying with me as I tried to stay conscious long enough to even process what was happening. He decided to use the fact that he thought I was unconscious to have his way. I was awake. I felt and heard everything. I just couldn't do anything about it. I ghosted him, blocked him on everything the moment I was better. Now, this wasn't the first time intimacy happened. He would keep asking and asking until I finally gave in out of fear that he would snap. I assumed at first that that was normal, and that's just what couples do. As messed up as that sounds, I didn't think coercive SA was a thing until recently when I watched one of your videos. Fast forward to after we broke up, he constantly showed up to my house or would show up when I was out with friends. He had his friends track my friends' locations or watch my social media, constantly sending me messages, photos, videos from unknown numbers. This went on for 3 or 5 years. I went to the police so many times I lost count. I got turned away every single time because he wasn't a threat and didn't do anything aggressive. Like, stalking me with a history of abuse wasn't aggressive enough. He eventually stopped, or at least so I thought. I was 21. I got added by somebody on Snapchat. Now, I have to point out that I'm an extremely private person. I have every setting off that will promote my social media, so the fact that I was being added by my username was setting off alarm bells, so I accepted it to ask how they got it. It turns out that it was one of M's new friends. He had no idea about what M had done. I, of course, immediately blocked them, which only seemed to trigger parcels and flowers being delivered to my new address. No one had my new address, so it made absolutely no sense how he found me. The parcels were of weird, creepy things like dolls, dirty teddies, candy, random newspaper clippings, even a jar of rocks at one point. I took them to the police, and you guessed it, I got the same answer. He's not a threat. He's just trying to win you back. I developed extreme anxiety, chronic depression, and agoraphobia. I was terrified to go outside, even to the mailbox. Constantly had my blinds closed, lights off. I've lived in fear for years. He disappeared last year completely, full radio silence. I can't pray and hope enough that it stays that way. So to the ex who ruined my life, gave me a crippling fear of existing, and ripped my innocence away too early, I hope we never meet again. That is absolutely horrific to read, and I am so sorry that you had to go through that. And I really, really, really hope, along with you, that things stay quiet and this man leaves you alone, because what the fuck? The police claiming he's just trying to win you back and he's not a threat when he was able to find out your new address that nobody else knew about? How is that, like, normal to them? That's insane. Shit pisses me off. Okay, this next story just says, let's not meet. Hi, Courtney. This is my first time posting, so I'm sorry if this is bad. So, my 2 friends and I decided to go to Target the other night to prepare for a school trip we had the following day. We had separated for about 5 minutes, and I somehow ended up where the albums and books were while they were in the baby aisle. I called them. We were planning on meeting up somewhere in the middle. Us being oblivious, the baby aisle and the album aisle were right next to each other. Suddenly, I'm standing with my cart and a guy walks right in front of me. I look up and he gives me a strange smile. He opened his mouth looking like he was about to say something, but then I looked away, realizing that my friends were behind me. As my friends walked next to me, he grew a mad expression on his face and walked away. About 30 minutes later, I went to go grab an Alani while my friends were trying on clothes. My friend's mom was with us, just because the Target we were in was kind of in a sketchy area. I walked up to her and she gave me a look that made me feel like something was wrong. She was talking to the same guy that I had had an interaction with. As soon as I came, he walked away, and my friend's mom told me what he said to her. My friend walked out, showing her mom her underwear, and asked if it was the right size. The guy was looking at the underwear as she was holding it. When my friend walked away, the guy turned to my friend's mom and asked, "How old is your daughter?" Which she quickly replied, 15. He then said he was shopping for his sister, and then I came, so he walked away. He started lurking around us, walking in the same spots over and over with nothing in his hands. My friend came out again and we quickly whispered, "Go back, there's a really creepy guy." She listened, and when everyone got their shit together, we said we were going to go check out, and we quickly walked away. I turned around, and he was following us. We knew an employee there, and he said he would keep an eye out for him. We walked to the checkout area, and he was then circling around us. My friend's mom was with another cashier and told her about the situation. She had a frightened look on her face and told us that a week prior, the same guy was lurking around asking young girls their ages and if they were there alone. Their school had a police report because of it. Then, the same day that we were there, he asked an 18-year-old girl if she was an employee. When she said no, he started following her around and bombarding her with weird and creepy questions that no stranger should ask. We went to walk out and the guy was there waiting for us. My friend's mom yelled, "We're not leaving here alone." And the man slowly walked away, still staring at us. We had a manager walk us out, and as she was about to, a tall middle-aged man walked in and said, "Was that guy creeping you out?" I said yes, stupidly, but my survival instincts kicked in when he asked to walk us out multiple times and each time we said no. After he walked out, we quickly went into the parking lot with the manager, thanked her, and left as fast as we could. I wanted to post this as a PSA to people to always trust your gut, and the people that seem like they're trying to help you might not. So do the two creepy men who may have tried to traffic us, kidnap us, or who knows what. Let's never meet again. No, honestly, that's crazy. That like a completely different man at the end was like pressuring you to let him walk you to your car, like being insane and scary, even though you said no multiple times. Like they had to have been together, right? Like what the fuck? Okay, and this last story says, to the ex that handcuffed me to his bed, let's not meet again. Hi, Courtney. I never thought I would actually write in my story because I'm honestly embarrassed with how stupid I was, but here we are. I haven't even started reading it yet, but I just know for a fact that you are not stupid. This happened about 5 years ago when I was 18. I was dating this guy since we were 15, and it was toxic. I mean, toxic to the point where I lost friends because they were frustrated with me for putting up with him and making excuses. He was mildly abusive and controlling. He wasn't like that in the beginning though, which is why I kept justifying staying. That, and we bonded over having the same upbringing, so I felt like he was the only person who really understood me. I obviously see how ridiculous that all is now. Anyways, he moved in with some family after being taken from his parents, and from there he went downhill. Started struggling with drugs and alcohol, and just changed for the worse. On one of the last days I had seen him, he was being like his old self and said he was taking his sobriety seriously, and he was clean, and was talking about our future and how he was going to do right by me. All these things that I've heard a million times. He said he was moving out of his family's place so he could stay away from their influence, which I knew was one of the biggest problems, so I was excited for him to get away. He asked if I would help him move, and I agreed. We went to the house and started packing, but he kept trying to do other things, but I refused and told him we should just focus on getting him moved out before his family got back. He got a little annoyed, but started packing again. After we got most of his stuff packed, he started hugging me and trying to be playful like he normally is. We were laughing, and he started talking about our future again. He said he had something for me and that he would be right back. I was sitting on the floor at the end of his bed, and he told me to close my eyes, so I did. I felt him grab my hand and then close something around it, and realized that he had handcuffed my hand to the bed. I thought it was a joke, so I awkwardly laughed but told him to let me out of it. But he just started pacing and saying stuff about how I was going to leave him, and that's why I didn't want to do anything earlier. That I wanted a better life, and that's why I was working so much. He accused me of cheating, and that I let my friends finally convince me to leave him, and going on and on. I was so confused because I was literally there helping him move, and we were just laughing and making plans. I tried to calm him down and get him to let me out, but he refused. Even when his family got back, they just laughed about it and started joking, but nobody did anything. I started to realize that he was being serious about not letting me out, and I had a panic attack. I was crying and literally begging him to stop being paranoid, but it didn't work. He got drunk and was trying to do stuff again, which I refused, and that pissed him off even more. We argued a little, and I was begging for him to let me go home. He eventually passed out on his bed, and I spent the night on the floor. I tried to think of any little idea to get out of the situation. I even tried pulling my hand free, but only managed to irritate my skin even worse. At one point, his cousin acted like he would let me out, but said only if I made it up to him before leaving because he was going to be mad about him helping me, to which I told him to fuck off. It honestly felt like the longest night of my life. I just kept thinking about how this was it for our relationship and how done I was with this bullshit. He finally woke up, seen me, started apologizing, saying he didn't mean it, and he let me out. I just got my stuff and I left. He tried to get me to stay, obviously, not realizing or caring how bad he scared me and how fucked up the whole situation was. I ended up going to my friend's house and telling her everything, and she said I wasn't going back and tried to talk me into pressing charges, which I was already done with him after that, but I didn't press charges again. I know, stupid. He tried to reach out and apologize, even showed up at my work every day for a week, would call nonstop some nights, and texted me so much that I had to block his number and his cousin's number when he tried to call from there. A couple months later, I moved out of town, and I haven't seen him since. Sometimes he still tries to request and follow me on social media, which I deny, but I've heard that he's still with his family and still struggling with addiction. That is horrible. Like, I genuinely cannot even imagine literally being trapped on his floor, like just having to sit there and pray to God that he wakes up or that somebody lets you out. Oh my God, I cannot express how fucking sorry I am that that happened to you. That's all I'm gonna read for now. I'm honestly kind of proud of myself that I got through all 4 stories. And if you guys have any other stories that you want to share with me or the community, I will have my subreddit linked down below. I'm gonna go take another round of Dayquil and hope that I feel a little bit better. But I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.